Sister Connie had the mic hot up here. That's why the mic, when the mic is, when it's fired up and truth is being told, then that's what happens in this process. First, I want to just thank Sister Connie. Thank you for that. Thank you for those words of truth. Can y'all hear me? I actually want to make sure y'all can hear me. Can you hear me now a little better? Yeah. All right. Sister Connie, thank you for those words. It's an honor to be here at the People's Justice and Peace Convention. This is a very important time. It's an honor to be in this church. This church has a long history, particularly what it means to people of color, and also what it means for the civil rights movement. Anytime your church was the headquarters for Dr. Martin Luther King, when he would come through this part of Ohio, that's an important development, and many of us in our movement respect that and respect that church. I especially respect the fact that there are African symbols in a Christian church. That's what is, to me, profoundly impactful, to see the Sankofa bird and other African art, knowing that there are children of color in this confines, not only learning about Christian history, but about the African history as well. I'm not going to be too long, but I do want to talk about our movement. I do want to say that I saw one of my dearest friends here. I don't know where she went. You really can't miss her because she's always wearing pink. Medea Benjamin. I don't know where Medea went to. Somebody should call her in. I'm giving her a shout out now. I know she's missing her shout out moment right there. I saw some pink coming through the back door. But the reason why Medea is so powerful in a very pint-sized person, if you know who Medea, if you see her when she comes in, she's not a large woman, but she's extremely powerful. But what is important for me about Medea is that she has continuity in this movement. In other words, she has been wearing with code pink and wearing pink for as long as I've known her. I have never seen her wear anything besides pink, as a matter of fact. I don't know if I should just buy her another outfit for Christmas or something for that. I don't know. We'll see. But her and the cold pink ladies, those strong women, when they were standing up against the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war and against drones, and they got a little thin when they was thick when it was President Bush, and they got a little thin when it became Obama. It shouldn't get thin, ever, when we're fighting for justice. If your politics pushes forth your truth, then your politics and your mission and your movement is in trouble. If your politics is based around a politician only and a political party only, then you are in trouble. Because political parties can shift and sway. Politicians can certainly shift and sway. But movements based upon truth, fighting for justice and equality will not shift as time goes on as long as the people stay unified and organized together. Hip Hop Caucus is an amazing organization. We are quite busy. I'm glad I can come in here today. Last night, I was in I've been in so many different places. But sometimes I don't know which hotel room, you can't find the light switch. So who move around, you turn the lights off, you don't know where you are. You're getting off and not bumping into stuff. I didn't know what plane I'm on. I'm like getting on the plane, hoping to hear, you are going to Cleveland. Okay, I'm on the right plane. I'm all right. Not taking me to. So last night was there in Baton Rouge. I'm originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. Lived through Hurricane Katrina. For some of y'all know my story. And you can look all that up. don't have time for that, but I was there last night with the family of Alton Sterling at the funeral, laid my hand at about this time on his body in the casket, and felt the stiffness of Alton Sterling, as you know, when you die and you begin to stiff. But I could see where they had somehow patched up the holes where the police had murdered him. I was closer to see that, to see where they had filled that hole where the murder and the execution had took place just last week, Tuesday. And many of you have seen that video and seen so many videos of particularly black men and black women. As a matter of fact, today is a 2-year anniversary of the choking of Eric Garner in New York City. And then just a few days ago, we were talking about 1 year ago when they killed, and we still don't know what happened to Sandra Bland. Yeah. And then just a little while ago, a few days ago, would have been the 14th birthday of Tamir Rice. So I can keep going on, Rakia, but I can literally take my whole time and just read off names, not of Emmett Till, not of passed along folks. There she is. There's dead right there. Look at her. She's a little pint size. See, I told you she's small. She's here. Well, she's full of energy. She's powerful. And I wouldn't get in her way. And, you know, I get in the way of a whole lot of folks. I test a whole lot of people, but she's somebody I'm not going to get. Women in the movement are powerful. See, you know what I'm saying? I'm a mentee. I was mentored by Dr. Dorothy Height. So, so if you don't know who that is, just look it up. Google, that's what so. But I was there yesterday with Alton Sterling, laying my hands on his body in the casket. And I had to come here today to give you a message for our movement. But I want to share with you, before I get into that, what we are doing at my day job, the Hip Hop Caucus. I won't be here with you this entire week, but most of them will be with you. As a matter of fact, on Monday, there will be at Reverend Sadler's church, which is Mount Zion Congregational Church. When you know that's over on 10723 Magnolia Drive. There will be a Justice for All town hall at 7 p.m. being put forth by the Hip Hop Caucus Cleveland. Hip Hop Caucus is now a national organization, one of the fastest growing organizations in the country amongst young people in urban communities. We have in city chapters all around and now around the world. There's Hip Hop Caucus Turkey, Hip Hop Caucus in Jordan, Hip Hop Caucus in Korea, mobilizing for the advancement of people. But here at Hip Hop Caucus Cleveland, they have that going on. And then they also have a graffiti wall. And so they have a wall on at the Cleese, I guess it's for Cleveland, kind of cool, Cleese Car Wash, over at 2245 East 14th Street, which I guess at the corner of Carnegie and 14th. They will be there when people all around the world and other country talk about the convention, what they're hearing and solutions, and they do hashtag respect my vote. They will then do graffiti artists on that car wash. So if you have words that you want to leave and you put on Monday around 1 o'clock, or rest of the whole week really, but listen, between 1 and 5, your thoughts. We need to ban fracking. We need to get rid of this or do that. Hashtag respect my vote. It'll be up on that car wash, which will then become the enshrinement of that car wash in Cleveland for as long as the paint will last. So that the words that will be spoken won't just be words for a week and frustration about making whatever country you will make great again. That's a joke for y'all in Cleveland. Y'all gonna hear a lot of that. But that will be there. So let me get to where we are. Speaking of Respect My Vote campaign, actually tomorrow will be Respect My Vote Day on Monday as well, which is the 18th, because that is the birthday of Nelson Mandela. And so part of the Respect My Vote campaign, a strong component of that kind of is to get ex-offenders the ability to make sure that their voice is heard through the ballot box. and to break any hindrance from that, from either the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act, or if it's whatever the case may be, the chicanery that goes on both sides, Democrat and Republican, to be honest. If they don't like you, they're going to try to get rid of your vote regardless. And so we want to make sure to pick ex-offenders, and who better example to go from the prison to the president's house than Nelson Mandela, to inspire ex-offenders to use their voice. So on Monday, along with the town hall, along with the graffiti wall at the Cleese Car Wash, it will be Respect My Vote Day, honoring both Nelson Mandela and encouraging ex-offenders. And one of our celebrity spokespeople is Charlemagne the God. He's an amazing radio host. He's an ex-offender. Every year we've had ex-offenders. We had T.I., who was an ex-offender, then we had 2 Chainz, and now we had Charlemagne the God as well, and Remy Ma and others who we've been doing in that. Let me get to my spiel, and then I'm gonna sit down. I want to leave with you a word for our movement, particularly the movement regarding climate change. Because we're in this church regarding civil rights. Climate change is a civil rights issue. People have a right to clean air. People have a right to clean water. People have a right to life. They have a right to decide if we can transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. We have a right to fight for the next generation and the generation now. Today, on the 2-year anniversary of the killing of Eric Garner in Staten Island, where they have the most trees in New York, it still received an F for air quality. And even though he was on the ground being choked, saying, "I can't breathe," and he was choked by the policeman, all of Eric Garner's children, all 6 of them, have asthma. And so either you're being choked by police or you're being choked by pollution. It is the same kind of crime. In some cases, it's worse. Because while we give none of the racial bias of police officers who make a decision to kill somebody of color, there is something more sinister and wicked when you sit in a boardroom, pull up in your drop-top BMW, drinking your latte, and then look at a map of Cleveland and says, okay to pollute this part of the community because those people don't mean nothing. There's something that's sinister about that. When you look upon human lives in a community and say, well, this is the white part or the rich part, and so we won't put the refinery there, or we won't put the pollution there. We'll put it over here around poor people. That's sinister. And they don't do no jail time for that. And so one of the things here that I want to talk about this climate movement, about how we win, what we need to do to win. Because I'm assuming you're not here on this Saturday just because you want to hear some good speeches and get some lunch and socialize. You're here because you realize that as a people, we have to do things to fix our planet. Is that correct? Am I in the right spot? Is that what y'all want? Are y'all looking for justice? Are y'all looking to bring down folks who are doing wicked things? Is that right? I'm asking the question. This ain't rhetorical now. I'm being clear. So the rest of my speech goes along with that, because I can change it up to give you the rah-rah speech, we shall overcome speech. and then y'all can leave. He was good. I want to give you the speech as activists, organizers, as folks who are putting their lives on the line, as folks who are leaving their children at home to come to a meeting, as folks who are here spending their resources. I want to speak to those folks who know they are putting it all on the line, not only for themselves, but for the next generation. That's the conversation that I want to have for the next 5 or so minutes. So I see him in the right spot. As an environmental climate justice movement, really a progressive movement, the first thing is that we will not win as a siloed, segregated, progressive movement. If the Black Lives Matter rally is all black, then we in trouble. If the LGBTQ rally is just LGBTQ people, and we're not there side by side in solidarity, then we're in trouble. If even within the green movement, if at daytime it's beyond coal, and then at nighttime it's environmental justice, see, I'm ready. I mentioned, can I have this conversation? Y'all want to have this? Y'all want to have this conversation? Yeah. I'm just making. If we allow for funders to control what we choose is important for our movement, folks who are as far removed from the people, who are up on the hill, hanging sometimes with the pollution makers, hanging sometimes with the folks who are creating the presidential complex. As a matter of fact, foundations whose foundational money is actually coming from Wall Street. Can we have this talk for real? And y'all having this piece here where they are dictating, where we are holding others accountable but not holding ourselves accountable. So a divestment movement is only for Exxon and Chevron, or Chevron, I say in Oakland, but not for us, because we have a siloed, segregated, progressive movement. And you can't win anything when the enemy can look at your color and your status and your age by depending on how you rally. If you are that broken apart and you won't even do the things to fix that, you can continue to do your day-to-day business of movement building, but won't even look at the reality that, man, this climate movement is all white folk, or this black is all black folk, or this immigration is all brown folk. You can't even see that disparity. Believe me, your enemy can. If you can't see it, your enemy can. The second thing, if our movement is not based upon holding people accountable, we give away the title of climate leader too easily. Politicians can be talking about renewable on Monday and fracking on Thursday and be considered climate leaders because we're so desperate to not be dealing with climate deniers. Forget about them. You're going to have a whole town full of climate deniers in about 24 hours. So what? If we organize the people and tell them the consequences, that if we continue on this path of climate catastrophe, when right now, don't even go to the future, right now in India, where it's 140 degrees, and you have children who are drowning themselves to get away from heat, and farmers who are committing suicide, farmers, the strongest people in our community, committing suicide, then something is wrong. Do not worry about climate deniers. Worry about this being pacific and what morality of our movement. Third thing, if our movement is not based in love, I get it. Listen, I got a few degrees. Taught at Georgetown. Medea knows I was an ex-Air Force officer. Got all that stuff. And then for a black young man, that's good stuff for some folks. Ain't important to me, but it's important to some of them. I get all that. We can have a theological, a philosophical, a political conversation. We can sit around here and talk about stats and data all we want. And we can have that conversation all day long. And what this means and what it means for Bernie and Hillary, or what it means for this and what it means for that. We can have that. We can have that. But it was not based upon love. Meaning, if we have rallies where folks are coming and are hungry, and we're sending them back home hungry. We got young folks who want jobs, and we are making $200,000 at a nonprofit. And won't this break off $50,000 from our $200,000 job to get some other folks some stipends? Oh, y'all don't want to hear this conversation. Y'all don't want. Y'all want to have this talk today? Because it was not based upon love. We will not win. We will not win, and the stakes are too high. Because in the 21st century, they fought for primarily equality. And while we're still fighting for equality in the 21st century, we are now fighting for existence in the 21st century. Literally life or death. Last thing. I'm in a church. I'm hip hop, so I don't get to go to church that often. I like being in churches. It's great. And I've been to churches too. When you hip hop, I've had folks, I'm on TV a lot now, so they don't do as much. When I first got started and I was hip hop, I've been in some churches, black churches, when some folk would walk out the room. They would say, "This is Rev Yearwood from the Hip Hop Caucus," and folk would put their finger up and they would kind of like step on out. Somebody know what I'm talking about. And then I'm like, that ain't my Jesus. And they would step on out, whatever. Ain't my Jesus either then. Who you everybody? Ain't my Jesus either then. We ain't found the same thing. I guess, because my Jesus is about revolutionary Jesus. So, I'm just going to say, the guy who was homeless out there fighting out there in the wilderness, that's the guy I'm with. But in that, we are in church. And since none of y'all put your finger up, y'all my people. So it's a story in the Bible about David. You might know what's about Goliath. David fought against Goliath. You might know he had the slingshot. And it might be myth, might be real. It's a good story. We're going to go with the story. The thing about that, though, is that using that story with David and Goliath is that what's clear for our movement is this, is that David was prepared to fight Goliath. Before he fought Goliath, he had to fight the lion and the bear before he fought Goliath. So for my young folks who are here, who are wondering how this movement stuff works, what you see a lot of times is you're being prepared for activism, prepared for fighting for our people. You will go through levels in this process. You will also come across people who you think are with you in the movement, but ain't really with you in the movement. And you have to not be discouraged because of that. But I also know in Cleveland, there's a young brother who committed suicide here. A young Black Lives Matter activist committed suicide. And so, because I understand that there are so many young folks who are getting discouraged, sometimes because of our own movement, I want to address that issue. And so, in the story, he had to fight the lions, the tigers, and then Goliath. But en route to fighting Goliath, and the story is that they were at that time with the shepherd's boys, 15 years old, little boy. Goliath was this guy who was like, I guess in the Bible, they just, maybe, he was probably like 6'6", but he made him 10 feet in the Bible. So they say he was 10,000 feet. And so, that's a scholar joke there for you, Reggie. That's a scholar's Bible joke. But he was fighting Goliath, and in that process, of fighting Goliath, he came across Saul. And Saul couldn't defeat Goliath. But Saul wanted to give his weaponry and his armor to David. Now I'm going to slow down here. It's very important for you to understand this part of the story. David was prepared and had wins against the lions, the tigers, and the bears, leading to Goliath. When he got to Saul, who also wanted to fight the Goliaths, and there will be Goliaths for every generation, Saul wanted to give his armor to David. And when David, at first being polite, tried on the armor did not fit. As a movement, if we are still putting on the armor from the 20th century to fight a 21st century foe, then we are not going to win. If you are asking young folks from this generation to put on what worked for you in the last generation to fight this modern enemy, let me make it current. In the 20th century, many of you had to fight against Jim Crow. Black, white, brown, yellow, male, female, human together against Jim Crow. But in the 21st century, we are not fighting against Jim Crow. We are fighting against James Crow Jr. Esquire. And James Crow Jr. Esquire doesn't care if you march, doesn't care if you block the streets. James Crow Jr. Esquire has learned what his old man didn't know, that I will beat you with policy. Because he who shapes policy is able to shape the people. So while you are marching, and marching is important, but demonstration without legislation leads to frustration. And so we, as a new movement, need to figure out how to fight a much more sophisticated crow. And as I close, please be clear. Crows just ain't white no more. We got black crows too, and brown crows too. We got crows who actually were in the movement, now out the movement, and understand how your movement works. We got crows who are so sinister, they would allow for an entire city to drink poisoned water to kill their children. We have crows today who are so sinister that they will come behind police officers, even if it's on tape, to protect. They are so sinister. Even if they had Exxon knew that climate change was real, they will still spend millions to say that it's not. Our battle is real. So as I close with this for you. Medea, 100 years from now, my sister, you and me, Connie, we won't be here. 2116. We won't be here. Matter of fact, none of y'all will be here. Unless y'all find some really good drugs. And then I'm reviewing it on Twitter. Hit me up. But more than likely, none of us will be here. But what will be here will be either two things. Either we will have come together in love, we will come together breaking down the silos, we will come together calling out truths in our own movement, and we'll either come together in a way in which we don't take on the old armor but find new armor for a new generation. And then that next generation may see this tape of this baseball cap wearing reverend and says, that whole group there, I can breathe and drink clean water. Or in this same Cleveland, a whole nother group will win. And then there will be 2116, but there will be no people. or there'll be such a horrible existence in this world. That's what we have to fight against.